Please, my fellow community people, the land is a gift from God, just like God give you a child. Can you sell your child?
Once we see someone's skin is a bit lighter than our own, and he comes to our domain, we see them as demigods. Let us not aim in legality. Posterity will judge us. If today you collect peanuts from these people and they devastate the environment, it might not even be just you. Tomorrow it might be your grandchildren that will fall victims.
From the first day of this fire, you can scan this code with your camera and go to market. You pick the loan and you can visit this crossfire and the app.
On April 17, 2024, the African Centre for Leadership, Strategy and Development, Centre LSD, in collaboration with the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, MSMD, conducted a sensitization meeting in the Nasarawa local government area of Nasarawa State. The aim was to sensitize stakeholders in the solid minerals sector on the content of the revised guidelines for preparing community development agreements, CDAs, in Nigeria's solid mineral industry. The choice of Nasarawa local government area for the flag-off of the sensitization meeting was because it has the highest concentration of mining activities in Nasarawa State, which is renowned as Nigeria's home of solid minerals. The meeting, presided over by the MSMD Director of Mines Environment Compliance MEC Department, had host community members, investors, mineral title holders, trade unions and various community groups in attendance. Recall that the Centre partnered with the Ministry in 2023 to revise the CDA guidelines to include intersectional issues and make it more inclusive, which was subsequently launched in November by the Honourable Minister of Solid Minerals Development.
On behalf of the President of the Federal Republic, Nigeria, I hereby launch the revised guidelines of Community Development Agreement. Thank you very much.
It therefore became pertinent that stakeholders in the mining industry be sensitized on the content of the revised CDA guidelines to ensure compliance. In the meantime, the Ministry and Centre LSD's partnership has produced noticeable outcomes and is currently in its 5th phase.
This collaborative project, titled Strengthening an Intersection Approach for Improved Natural Resource Governance in Nigeria, is now in its 5th phase. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and valued stakeholders, it is my pleasure to join you, and I'd like to extend a warm welcome to you all this morning on this important meeting on sensitization of mining host communities, on the revised guidelines for community development agreement CDAs in the solid mineral sector, and the formal launching of the hostcommunities.ng web mobile app. I bring special greetings from my Executive Director, Mr. Monday Osasa, and I would like to express special appreciations to Dr. Mrs. Okono Vivian, Director of the Mines Environment Compliance Department, MEC, Mrs. Panin SK, Assistant Director, Mirenko Chairman, our esteemed traditional rulers here, community leaders, valued investors, local government representative, staff of the ministry, my colleagues that are here today, and all of you present here. My name is Dr. Margaret Fagboyo. I am the Director of Development at the African Centre for Leadership, Strategy and Development, Centre LSD. I want to commend my colleague, Mr. Vincent Daniel, the Program Coordinator who has been leading on this project. We are deeply honored to collaborate with the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development, particularly Mines Environment Compliance Department under the leadership of Dr. Mrs. Okono Vivian.
I bring warmest greetings from the Honourable Minister of Solid Mineral Development, Dr. Dele Aleke, and the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Mary Obo. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is with a great pleasure and sense of responsibility that I stand before you today to address this important gathering on the sensitization program of the revised guideline for the production of CDA in the Nigerian mining sector. The general vision of community development agreement are: 1, to improve the relationships between the companies, their host communities, the government, the civil societies, and other stakeholders. 2, to promote sustainable and mutual rewarding benefits from mining projects to the host community. CDAs in the mining sector is to ensure the mining communities are carried along by the mining operators. That is why federal government thought it wise to enshrine CDA in Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act of 2007, Section 116 of the Act makes CDA between the mineral title holders and the community mandatory. The whole idea is that the mining companies or operators will extract minerals of economic values from the community, then they have some obligation to protect and improve the welfare of the community. As we count our successes as a ministry, there are some challenges hindering the CDA processes in some communities, such as misconception of the CDA with consent agreements signed with the original landowner. Some of us get confused between CDA and consent with the landowners where you are mining. Another challenge is overbearing influence of our traditional rulers that corners things that are meant for the generality of the people to just a few individuals. Some communities make heavy demands that are impossible for the companies to achieve. Some companies also take undue advantage for some communities and provide lero that are not commensurate with the company's mining operation. Many companies, including the big ones, have even refused to sign CDA. In order to facilitate the implementation of CDA and address some of these challenges or issues raised earlier, the ministry had in 2014 developed a guideline for use in the sector, taking into consideration the shortcomings often associated with CDA documents previously submitted to the ministry by the mineral title holders. However, in the course of the review of this CDA documents submitted by the mineral title holders with their host community over the past 9 years, the ministry also identified gaps in the existing CDA guidelines. And due to numerous complaints and petitions from the community, hence there was a need to review the CDA guideline of 2014 to meet with the global best practices. In November 2023, the revised guideline for the production of the Community Development Agreement in the solid mineral sector was launched in collaboration with the Center LSD.
Our shared goal is to ensure a thriving mining sector that optimizes the entire value chain and captures the full benefits for all stakeholders. This is our vision for the sector, and the only thing that can guarantee that the interests of all stakeholders are accommodated in terms of empowerment opportunities, value creation, environmental sustainability, and socio-economic development. This also includes host communities receiving fair compensation and benefiting from the opportunities offered by the resources extracted from their lands. This is very important. Investors having the enabling environment to operate in a safe and secure atmosphere that can promote more investment and business growth. Having a conducive environment that promotes growth of linkages businesses and creation of value chain activities. The government gaining from thriving business and investment climate and collecting appropriate revenue to fund public services and meeting its socio-economic obligations and aspirations.
Keeping in mind the fact that mining projects have the potential to impact communities, both positively and negatively, community development agreements comes into play to better define relationship and obligation of mining companies.
It's a 22-page document with 4 chapters. This is what it looks like. I think it's final at the first one, and it's more informative, it's more detailed. The revised CDA contains 4 chapters. Chapter 1 has the introduction and general preamble and objectives of the CDA guidelines. Those have not changed. Chapter 2 talk about the time frame and process, the time duration, time frame of the discussion, the processes leading towards the agreement itself, stakeholders' participation through various consultative meetings leading to the agreement. So chapter 3. In this chapter we have we talk about meetings. You have to have first of all a commencement meeting. What are you supposed to do at this meeting? It is your first formal meeting. That's the first formal meeting between the company and the host community. Of course, with other relevant stakeholders present. The mine environmental compliance officer in the state and some other relevant bodies. If somebody who's from and marry your daughter, I know that in Hausa they will say, Anka Ogeswa. Is that am I correct? So I think this commencement meeting is like that is what it is like. Anka Ogeswa. They are going to tell you where in your community. Now you are very important. It says to bridge that gap where people say they just come from with paper from Abuja and say they are come to our land and they start working. So this takes care of that. It is the first formal meeting. So it may not necessarily be where you must talk and conclude everything. No. You may not even have a wish list as of that meeting and then you choose to pick another meeting. But what we are saying is this meeting is important. We are setting a date, a later date for another meeting, which would be the negotiation meeting. Apart from supermarkets, where they put the price tags, and you know that what you have seen is what you have to pay for. Any other place you want to buy anything. If I say how much is this bottle water on that, and you tell me 100 naira, I won't give you 100 naira really like that. As a human being, I will say, okay, can I pay you 8? Then you look, now it's pay you look and consider whether it is 3 steps, then we agree. I give you 18 naira and I take it. So, at this negotiation meeting is where you do such an interaction. Remember, you would have given them a list earlier. So at this meeting now, the company is telling you, we may not be able to do this. Can you look inward again and consider the ones that are priority to you, the ones you want us to do within this 5-year duration. So when people, of course, you go back and forth, like pricing markets. But of course, that's why we say it is important that you have a legal representative. So when you are done with your negotiation meeting, whether that day or you have to fix another day, you now talk about the completion meeting. The completion meeting is where you now come to talk about what you have agreed upon. Most times when you do the negotiation, you are doing drafts, you are just scribbling on paper. So your lawyer, whoever is drafting the agreement for you, they go back home and put this fine-tune it, the proper English and whatever it is that may have been missed out and not captured. Fine-tune everything and turn it to a full document that will now be presented to everyone at this completion meeting. But in this case, it will not be me, it will be the draft of the agreed project. Once all of you agree, that becomes your draft CDA, your draft community development agreement with the company, which will now be submitted to the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development. So that draft will be submitted. After it's submitted for review, the ministry reviews it and finds that it has met all requirements of the law and can be approved, will now send you a letter asking you to either go ahead and fix a date for the signing, the official signing of the document. When you are sending the draft, note please, you haven't signed. You have not agreed. What you are sending to the ministry is what you have agreed upon between yourselves. So that's what you send to. When we think we've looked at it, we reviewed it, and we see that you have met all requirements, we'll send you a letter asking you to go ahead and fix a date for signing. Or if you haven't met those requirements, if you have been invalidated by one or two reasons, maybe a step was joined, or the ministry was not even carried along. Because the ministry has to be carried along so that we don't start to have issues during the course of the duration, which is a 5-year term. So the draft may also be rejected, asking you to go ahead. Of course, we would point out our observations, have a list of it, and send back to you to say, go and amend this, go and correct this, and we send to the ministry, submit to the ministry a draft for another review. So chapter 4 talks about the prescribed content and writing format of the CDA. Basically, just the structure. There's all the parts that have to be there, the recitals, the body, the covenant pages, the signatory pages, the consultative monitoring framework, all of these things that should be in the writing format of the CDA. All of this you will find in the guideline. And when you are submitting the CDA, please, at every of these meetings, ensure to take minutes of the meeting, because this will be required for you to attach along with your submission, the draft submission. If we do not see minutes of meetings, that CDA cannot be approved. We need names of attendees. We need their phone number. We need their signatures. We expect a minimum of 3 minutes of meeting, because from what we have commencement meeting, negotiation meeting, completion meeting. So we expect that you have minimum of 3 minutes of meeting. Minimum. It may be more, because we do not expect that for every meeting you finish your discussion there. And then at the end of the meeting, we expect that there's a secretary who took the minutes of those meetings. Let him write his name, he or she write their name and sign. So a minimum of 3 minutes of meetings will be attached, must be attached for submission.
The Centre used the opportunity to introduce participants to the hostcommunities.ng web and mobile app.
From the first page of this file, you can scan this code with your camera and want to snap it. You pick the link and you can visit this website as the app. Inside the flyer have directions on how to access the host community app. If you have your phone, I want to show you how to create an account on the app.
The application, which was presented at the event by the program coordinator of Centre LSD, Vincent Dania, was developed in partnership with the Ministry of Solid Minerals Development. This tool aims to ensure transparency in the execution of CDA projects and make it easy for host community members to track and report on CDA projects directly to the appropriate regulatory body.
Having submitted those reports on the app, would there be any need to go with hard copy to the ministry in Abuja?
The way the app is designed, as soon as you click and you send in your complaint, you have an auto reply that says your complaint has been accepted. There are people who man this app who check regularly, and if there are critical issues, because part of what you do is that if there are some issues, you take pictures, upload. For example, if there's an issue of land degradation that needs urgent attention that is deadly, and you send pictures and everything, the ministry looks at it and responds immediately. You might even be asked, called upon either via email or a text message or even a phone call.
The emergence of Chinese mining company in Nigeria thanks to our localities. See, most of the patterns of the mining of the Chinese is through underground. So my fear is that over time, on the near future, will this community be exposed to a danger of earthquake?
The Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act mandates every mineral title holder to carry out what is called environmental and social impact assessment before you start anything. Ministry of Environment is the custodian of the whole environment. We have this MOU between the Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Mines and Steel Development. So, a mineral title holder is not expected to start any mining without an EIA.
Mines Nigeria Limited.
Sulfi Mines. So have you complied with all environmental obligations?
My name is Lawrence from my campaign situated at the village. And this person is coming very suddenly, seriously. I need to go back and
I want to advise all the mining companies, please avoid buying the community land. It is wrong. Call these community people, do a joint partnership with them, grow them. Don't buy them up and leave them. Tomorrow, you will not have where to go and do their farm work and other things. You've already owned the land for them. And it is wrong. It's going to cause crisis in the nearest future.
A foreigner cannot come to your land and then do atrocities and get away with it. So please, let's serve our conscience and let's not just wait and say everything else is on the government. Take possession of what is yours. A lot of us are enlightened. When you see these people come, in the first instance, a Chinese is not even allowed to have SSML. It is meant for the indigenous. That is what the act says. But in most cases, we, the Nigerians, will get this SMML and then you now give it to Chinese people. So once we see someone's skin is a bit lighter than our own and he comes to our domain, we see them as demigods. And then they give us peanuts. What is even more annoying is that they mine, destroy the environment, cut out these things, they don't even add value. Take them and export them out.
The challenges we are facing now in mining, that there are illegalities in mining.
They destroy our farmlands, they destroy our roads, they destroy so many things, and then they carry out the valuable substance. So please, I challenge it to you. The ministry, yes, the government can be everywhere, and we are the government. The mines officer or the mines office that is in Nasarawa cannot be in all the local governments, cannot be in all the nooks and crannies. Even Mirenko cannot be everywhere. That is why you need to be enlightened. When you see these things, you don't wait until we have a forum like this. When you see it and you tell your village head, the village head can say, okay, let's take local government, and then it gets down and then it gets to the authorities. And once there are proofs and evidences, the ministry acts on it. So you have the right, just like you go to a doctor and you say, and he's giving you a drug, you can ask, what is this drug for? What will it do to me? It is your right. So the person comes into your community, he should be able to show you that he has done an EIA. And what does the EIA do? The EIA is to tell you that, okay, I'm going to do this. What effect will it have on the environment? Then you will provide a solution and say, okay, if it's going to cause this damage, I'm going to provide this solution to mitigate the damage. But of course, sometimes when you start the real mining, you would see that probably that method is thought to mitigate, it's not working out. Then you go back to the drawing board and say, okay, let's apply this method. Please, I would encourage us that when we see whether it is Chinese or anybody mining in our locality, let us be bold enough to ask them for that, and let us not aid in legality.
My fellow community people, the land is a gift from God. Just like God gave you a child. Can you sell your child? That's how the land it is to you. So why do you bother going about selling it? You sell the land for just 50 million. They give you. Within the twinkle of the eye, the 50 million is finished. What will you tell your grandchildren? What will you tell them? That you sold the land for peanuts?
The CDA itself is just for a duration of 5 years. But in any case, if you signed a CDA and probably it did not follow the new guideline, and we have approved it already, and there are concerns, genuine concerns that Faction A was not carried along in the agreement. Channel your complaints to the appropriate authority, and we can call the company and say, with evidences that you have different factions, but only faction A was carried out in the CDA. Even though it's been approved, it has to be reviewed to accommodate the factions that were not included.
The best way of resolving conflicts is dialogue, not confrontational. Please, don't take law into your hands.
Mining is a very good business. If people are doing mining in a very good way, I believe the whole of this country will not be complaining of unemployment, because mining can absorb everybody in this country.
Without peace, no matter how rich you are, you will not achieve anything.
We had over 100 mining host committee members, mining operators, and other stakeholders here in this hall today, where we created awareness on the provisions of the revised guidelines on CDA, and also the app, Host Community Energy app, that we created in partnership with the ministry.
The outcome of this sensitization program, what we are looking at is high-level compliance by the mineral title holders on issues of environmental obligations in respect of EPRP, that's the Environmental Protection Rehabilitation Program, then carrying out their environmental impact assessment, studies of their project, then submission of their fuel storage plan and community development agreements. We all know that Section 116 of the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act 2007 provides for companies to carry out CDA with their mining host community in order to ensure that they transfer the social and the economic benefits to the mining host community. So ministry is not relenting in their effort to make sure that we all have sustainable mineral development in Nigeria.
This comprehensive initiative, spearheaded by Center LSD since 2021, is dedicated to amplifying the voices of women in mining and the host communities, catalyzing positive transformations in the mining sector. Center LSD and her partners are not relenting in their efforts to bringing sustainable development to mining host communities across Nigeria and enable the communities to reap the benefits of the extraction of the minerals nature has blessed with.